Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story unfolds in a region once again caught between fire and fear. Israel is in shock after one of its key airbases was destroyed, reigniting a conflict that had been simmering beneath the surface. The world is watching closely as this new wave of violence threatens to unravel years of fragile balance in the Middle East. Reports began to emerge in the early hours of the morning, describing a massive explosion that tore through one of Israel's most strategic air installations. Witnesses from nearby towns reported a blinding flash followed by waves of shock that rattled buildings miles away. It didn't take long for confirmation to arrive that this was not an accident. A coordinated strike had targeted the airbase, a nerve center of Israel's aerial defense operations. The destruction was immense. Satellite imagery later revealed hangars reduced to ashes, fighter jets engulfed in flames, and fuel depots still burning long after the strike. The airbase, located in a region critical for Israel's air command and defense response, was suddenly offline. The scale of the attack immediately raised questions: who had the capability, and who had the motive to strike with such precision and timing? Early assessments pointed to a retaliatory strike, likely in response to recent Israeli operations across neighboring territories. Over the past few weeks, tensions had escalated after a series of cross-border clashes and air raids. Each side accused the other of provocation, but this latest event has pushed the conflict into uncharted territory. The destruction of a key airbase isn't just symbolic. It's a direct blow to Israel's military infrastructure. Israeli military officials confirmed that several personnel were killed and many others injured. Emergency response teams worked throughout the night, pulling survivors from collapsed structures. The Israeli government declared a national state of alert, reinforcing border defenses and activating its rapid response units. Air sirens echoed across cities as citizens rushed into shelters, unsure of what might come next. International observers immediately began to react. The United States and several European nations expressed deep concern, calling for restraint and dialogue. Meanwhile, reports circulated that militant groups were celebrating the success of what they called a strategic retaliation. For them, the attack was more than a victory, it was a message. Analysts are already warning that this event could spiral into a much larger conflict. The Middle East remains one of the most volatile regions on Earth, and any spark can trigger a chain reaction. Israel's military strength has always been considered unmatched in the region, but the precision of this strike raises serious doubts about its current level of preparedness. Questions are now being asked about how such an attack could have bypassed Israel's advanced defense systems, including the Iron Dome and radar networks. Preliminary investigations suggest the possibility of a cyber breach. Intelligence sources claim that the attackers might have infiltrated Israel's defense systems, blinding radar detection just long enough to execute the strike. If true, this represents not only a military failure but also a severe intelligence breakdown. Cyber warfare has become a crucial element of modern conflict, and this incident underscores the growing vulnerability of even the most technologically advanced nations. As images of the burning airbase spread across social media, public outrage intensified. In Israel, citizens demanded accountability and answers. Protests erupted in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem as people questioned how this could happen in a country known for its security dominance. Families of soldiers stationed at the base gathered outside hospitals, waiting for news of their loved ones. The atmosphere was heavy with fear and anger. In the political arena, Israel's leadership faced mounting pressure. The Prime Minister convened an emergency meeting with the Defense Cabinet, vowing a powerful response. In his address, he declared that whoever carried out this attack would pay a heavy price. Yet, behind the scenes, intelligence agencies were scrambling to verify the source of the strike. While many suspect regional adversaries, others warned that the truth might be far more complex, possibly involving multiple actors working in coordination. Across the region, militaries have been placed on high alert. Fighter jets were seen patrolling the skies as radar systems scanned for any further incoming threats. In neighboring countries, governments reinforced air defenses, anticipating possible retaliatory operations. The situation has become a dangerous game of anticipation, each side waiting for the other to make the next move. Experts say this conflict could reshape alliances. Some nations have quietly begun to shift their diplomatic positions, sensing a change in the balance of power. For Israel, this attack represents more than just a loss of infrastructure. It's a psychological blow to its image of invincibility. The destruction of such a significant airbase sends a signal to both enemies and allies that even Israel is not immune to vulnerability. The global response remains divided. Some nations have urged Israel to exercise restraint and focus on diplomacy, while others have openly supported a military counterstrike. Behind the scenes, intelligence sharing networks are working overtime to piece together evidence, tracking missile trajectories, communication intercepts, and satellite data to pinpoint responsibility. Yet so far, no clear perpetrator has claimed responsibility in full. As daylight broke over the smoking ruins, Israel's military began damage assessment operations. The base's command structures were completely destroyed. Several aircraft were rendered unusable, and maintenance facilities were annihilated. Experts estimate that rebuilding and restoring operations could take months, if not years. This setback will likely impact Israel's ability to conduct air operations across certain regions in the short term. But beyond the material loss lies something more dangerous, a crisis of perception. For decades, Israel has relied on its reputation of unmatched preparedness and deterrence to keep adversaries in check. The success of this strike, however, shatters that perception. Enemies may now see an opening, believing Israel's defense grid can be compromised. This belief alone could invite further escalations. In response, Israel has intensified surveillance and reconnaissance missions. Drones and spy planes are now circling border areas continuously. Security forces have been deployed in major cities, and citizens have been advised to remain vigilant. The nation is bracing for the possibility of another strike, as intelligence reports suggest that the attackers may not be finished. The psychological impact on the public is immense. Fear has crept back into everyday life. Schools have been closed in certain regions, and major highways have been restricted for military convoys. The memory of past wars still lingers in the minds of many Israelis, and the thought of another prolonged conflict is unbearable. Yet, amid the chaos, there's also a sense of unity. People are coming together to support victims' families, donate blood, and volunteer for civil defense efforts. Meanwhile, global markets have reacted sharply. Oil prices spiked overnight as traders anticipated instability in the Middle East. Stock markets in nearby countries experienced sudden drops, reflecting growing anxiety over potential regional escalation. Economic experts warn that a prolonged conflict could disrupt energy routes and supply chains, sending shockwaves through the global economy. The international diplomatic arena has turned into a flurry of negotiations. The United Nations has called for an emergency session to address the crisis, urging both sides to step back from the brink. However, history shows that such appeals rarely stop the momentum of retaliation once the first blow has been struck. With emotions running high and national pride on the line, the chances of de-escalation appear slim. Inside Israel's military command, debates are intensifying. Some advocate for immediate retaliation, arguing that strength must be shown to deter future attacks. Others caution that a rushed response could lead to wider conflict, dragging the country into a prolonged war. The decision hangs in the balance, as generals assess intelligence and prepare contingency plans. Behind closed doors, secret talks are reportedly taking place with international mediators, attempting to prevent further bloodshed. But on the ground, the reality is grim. The destruction of the airbase is not just a tactical loss. It has altered the strategic map of the region. The attackers have demonstrated capability and intent, signaling that the balance of power might be shifting. As night falls again, the fires at the airbase continue to burn, a haunting reminder of the fragility of peace in the Middle East. Civilians living near the area describe the skies glowing red from the flames. The sound of drones overhead and the constant hum of military activity serve as a reminder that the war could reignite at any moment. Experts are now drawing parallels to past conflicts where single incidents escalated into full-scale wars. History, it seems, is repeating itself. Each time a fragile peace seems within reach, violence erupts to drag the region back into chaos. The cycle continues, fueled by mistrust, revenge, and the deep scars of history. Despite the uncertainty, some voices are still calling for calm. Humanitarian organizations are urging all parties to prioritize civilian safety. Aid agencies are preparing for possible mass displacement if the conflict spreads further. The fear of regional war looms large, with analysts warning that even a limited military exchange could spiral out of control. As the situation develops, one thing is clear: the destruction of the airbase marks a turning point. It exposes new vulnerabilities and ignites old hostilities. Israel now faces a critical test: to respond with power or pursue peace through restraint. Both paths carry enormous risks. The decisions made in the coming days will shape not just Israel's future but the stability of the entire region. For now, Israel remains on edge. Its people, resilient yet weary, await clarity and hope for safety. The smell of smoke lingers in the air, and the echoes of the explosion still haunt those who witnessed it. The nation stands united in grief and defiance, but the road ahead is uncertain. Every action from this point forward could tip the scales between a contained crisis and an all-out regional war. This is the moment where leadership, strategy, and restraint will determine the fate of millions. The world watches as Israel faces one of the most defining crises of its modern history. A reminder that even the strongest walls can be breached, and even the mightiest armies can be caught off guard. What happens next will not only redefine Israel's security doctrine but could also change the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East for years to come. As the dust settles, one question remains unanswered: who truly benefits from this chaos, and how far are they willing to go? The answers will emerge in time, but for now, Israel stands wounded yet unbroken, preparing for the uncertain dawn that lies ahead.